I never imagined I'd be the kind of man who would quietly slip out of his own marriage. But when someone keeps telling you, in words or in silence, that what you feel doesn't matter, eventually you stop trying to explain why it does. My name's Daniel. I'm 42. I've been married to Claire for nearly 12 years. Ours wasn't a passionate story. It was one of habits. Morning coffee side by side, weekend errands, quick kisses that felt more like daily obligations than affection. I used to think that was just what growing up meant. You trade excitement for stability, right? Things began to shift about 2 years ago. When I'd go to kiss her, she'd turn her face away, offering her cheek like I was a distant cousin. Touch became uncomfortable, something awkward and unnecessary. I told myself she was just tired, maybe stressed. But the months stretched into a year, and what used to be quiet comfort turned into a silence that filled the house like a ghost neither of us could exorcise. One night, I sat on the edge of our bed and told her I missed us. She didn't even look up from her phone. Daniel, she sighed, not everything has to be about intimacy. I just don't need that anymore. Her voice was flat, dismissive. I asked, softly, and what about me? She rolled her eyes. Maybe you should grow up a little. Something inside me cracked. Lying awake that night, I realized she no longer saw me as her partner, just as part of the furniture that kept the house running. Over the next few days, I tested something. I stopped texting her. Stopped initiating conversation. Stopped asking if she wanted dinner together. She didn't seem to notice. The house became almost mechanical, two people coexisting without connection. On the 5th day, I packed a small bag before leaving for work and didn't go home. No note, no goodbye. Just gone. I checked into a small motel 2 towns over. For the first time in years, I turned off my phone and sat by the window watching the traffic lights change. Freedom didn't rush in like excitement. It arrived quietly, like a long breath after years of suffocating. Hours passed. No messages, no calls. The silence followed me. But it felt different, lighter. The next morning brought the same emptiness, but also a strange calm. On the 3rd day, I began to remember myself again. I ordered pancakes for breakfast, something she always said was childish. I took long walks with no explanations, smiled at strangers, laughed at a dumb sitcom. Each small act felt like reclaiming a forgotten part of me. On the 6th day, my phone finally buzzed. A message, "Are you alive?" I typed back, yes, and left it at that. Later came another, "I don't understand what you're doing." I wanted to reply, neither did I, for years, but I didn't. Some truths don't need spelling out. The 7th day, she called. I hesitated before answering. "Daniel." Her voice was softer than I remembered. "I'm here," I said. Long silence. Then, "Why did you leave?" I almost laughed. Not out of cruelty, but disbelief. She truly didn't know. "You told me you don't need intimacy," I said quietly. "I just stopped offering what wasn't wanted." She didn't answer right away. I heard her breathing, then soft crying that grew heavier. "I didn't mean it like that," she whispered. "Yes, you did," I said. "You've meant it for a long time. You just finally said it out loud." Through tears, she said, "Daniel, come home. Please. We can talk." But I couldn't. Something inside me had changed too deeply. "I think I need to stay away for a while," I told her. "You need time to figure out what you really want, and I need to remember who I am without you." She only said, "Okay," barely audible. After the call, I sat outside as the sun went down, feeling both empty and strangely free. Freedom, I realized, isn't always happiness, it's just the absence of chains. Later, checking my email out of habit, I found a message from her. No subject line, just a few raw sentences. "You were right. I stopped seeing you as a person. I thought love could survive without touch. I was wrong. I don't know if I can fix it, but I want to try." I read it several times. For once, her words were honest, not defensive. I didn't respond right away. Pain can make anyone sound poetic. I wanted to wait until the honesty settled. The next morning, I replied, "I'm not ready to talk yet, But I'm glad you finally said something real. Over the next few days, we exchanged a few careful messages. No anger this time, just small steps toward truth. 2 weeks later, she asked to meet. We met at a cafe halfway between her home and my motel. She looked exhausted, but sincere. She reached for my hand, hesitated, then stopped. "Daniel," she said quietly, "I know I pushed you away. I thought if we stopped being physical, maybe we'd stop fighting. But I killed the marriage instead." I nodded. "I stopped trying too," I admitted. Silence became easier than rejection. We talked for hours, not about fixing things, just understanding them. For the first time in years, it felt like we were finally seeing each other. Before we left, she asked, "Do you think there's still a chance for us?" "Maybe," I said, "but only if we stop pretending we're okay when we're not." She nodded, tears gathering in her eyes. "I can try." That night, back in my room, I thought about everything. The years of quiet hurt, the distance, the relief of finally being alone. Love doesn't always die with explosions or betrayal. Sometimes it just fades beneath too many unspoken words. Leaving wasn't revenge. It was a mirror. A way for both of us to see the truth. A week later, she texted again. "I booked a therapy appointment. I need to understand myself before I can understand us." That made me smile, not because I thought everything would suddenly be okay, but because it felt like the first real breath our relationship had taken in years. Sometimes walking away isn't giving up. Sometimes it's the only way to make room for honesty to return. And maybe, just maybe, the silence I left behind wasn't punishment. It was space, for both of us, to finally hear what had been missing all along.